Tanse, I'm Kananaskis. Welcome to APTN National News. Thank you for joining us. Sunday was the beginning of the G7 summit in Kananaskis, Alberta. The G7 is where the top global leaders meet to discuss the geopolitical issues of the day. APTN video journalist Rachel May is at the Media Center in Banff for the summit.
I'm here at the 2025 Kananaskis G7. Behind me is where all of the press conferences will be held. So far, all of the global leaders have arrived. There's no definitive schedule as to what will be up for discussion, but some of the anticipated topics include security, the economy, and tariffs. I will be here over the next 2 days to give you updates on all things G7. Rachel May, APTN National News, Banff.
Child sex abuse charges have been stayed against Lake St. Martin First Nation Chief Christopher Travers. The decision was made last Friday after the alleged victim admitted in court that she lied that Travers took pictures of her naked. An 8-year-old girl accused the 41-year-old Travers of sexual assault in December of 2023. In an interview video played in court, the girl said Travers took her to a bathroom and sexually assaulted her and took pictures of her. However, during cross-examination last Friday, the girl admitted she took the picture herself by accident. She said when her mother found the picture in her cell phone, she blamed Travers for taking the picture to avoid getting into trouble. Last April, court was adjourned after Travers was assaulted as he was making his way into the courthouse. 2 men were arrested and charged with assault. Their names were not released to protect the identity of the child. Travers is expected to resume his duties as chief of Lake St. Martin immediately. The RCMP are investigating after a body was found following a house fire in a First Nation in northeastern Alberta. Last Thursday at around 3:15 p.m., emergency crews were called to a house fire in Chippewayan Prairie First Nation located south of Fort McMurray. A body was later found after the fire was put out. RCMP is now working with fire investigators to determine the cause of the fire. Anyone with information on this incident is asked to contact RCMP at 780-788-4040 or Crime Stoppers. It has been almost 7 years since 31-year-old Ashley Morin went missing from North Battleford, Saskatchewan. Now RCMP are searching the rivers in the Battlefords area as part of their investigation. RCMP is advising the public that there will be an increased police presence this week in the Battleford rivers. RCMP's underwater recovery team and historical case unit will be combing the rivers and riverbanks throughout the weeks to find any remains. Morin, who is originally from the Evacuation Cree Nation, was last seen in 2018 in mid-July and was last in contact with her family on July 10th of 2018. The family said they immediately knew something was wrong after Morin's bag was located near a school. A large search for Morin followed, and RCMP found no activity on her phone, social media, or her bank account. A year later, RCMP believed Morin was a victim of a homicide based on tips and witness statements, and they released a single picture of a windowless van spotted in North Battleford, and police said they wanted to speak to the driver. In a statement, Superintendent Josh Graham with Saskatchewan RCMP Major Crimes said, "Since Ashley disappeared nearly 7 years ago, investigators have continuously followed up on numerous leads. Searching the river is another step in our investigation to find out what happened to Ashley and hold the person or persons accountable and who took Ashley away from her family. The Battlefords is a small, tight-knit community. We know people have information about Ashley's disappearance, and we want to encourage them to report it to police. Even the smallest detail could make a difference." An early start to the forest fire season in Northern Ontario is keeping an Indigenous Emergency Operations Centre busy. ISN Masqua is positioning itself as a leader in training and deploying Indigenous people to emergency situations. And as APTN's Mike McDonald reports, it's gearing up for an active season.
The acting CEO of ISN Masqua says the organization began its busy season by assisting a far north community that had been evacuated due to flooding. Joe Tom Sayers says it was only 1 day after residents returned home that they got their first forest fire evacuation call.
We got activated by Indigenous Services Canada to host a community from Northern Ontario due to a forest fire. That's about 1,300 folks. Quickly after that, another First Nation of about 1,000 was evacuated under our care. And then more recently, the Sandy Lake First Nation were hosting probably close to 1,000 at this point, if not up to 1,500.
Sayers says the moment ISN Mascua gets a call to assist, they waste no time getting to work.
We immediately trigger our own process where we immediately look for accommodation sites, assemble our teams, build out our incident command tables, put in a communication plan, safety plans for folks given the sites that we're going to be hosting them in, all within 48 hours.
ISN Mascua is wholly owned by the Missinaba Cree First Nation, and Sayers wants to see the company's model of First Nations helping First Nations adopted on a national level.
With First Nations leading the supports around evacuations, that is the way of the future. We're demonstrating it, we're proving it on the ground and on the field. And we want to see this model, replicated across the country, and anything we can do to help other communities build that capacity out, we're there for them.
Sayers says work continues on ISN Masqua's evacuation center, which will be located on the Missinaba Cree First Nation, which is about 340 kilometers north of Sault Ste. Marie. He adds phase 1 of the project will be finished by spring 2026, at which time they will be able to host up to 800 evacuees. Mike McDonald, APTN National News, Sault Ste. Marie.
Across the country, the search for remains at former residential school sites continues, with many communities doing the work privately. One of those areas is located on a reserve in northern Saskatchewan, where technology combined with oral history has resulted in more discoveries in Beauval. First Nations University Indigenous Communications Arts student Tyrone Perreault now with a major public announcement from English River First Nation.
Ernie's been sworn in now, right? Ernie!
English River First Nation in northwestern Saskatchewan has a long and painful history with the residential school system. The Beauval Indian Residential School, now demolished, operated for decades on this site. Like many others across Canada, searches are taking place near where the school once stood. A difficult but important revelation.
I didn't go, my parents didn't go, or my grandparents didn't go. But I'm a father. And to imagine RCMP coming in and taking my son away, what it would do to me, it would break me. And to imagine what it would do to my son.
A group known as the Returning Home Society has unveiled the latest results of a ground-penetrating radar search on the school grounds. Using GPR and S4 imaging technology, the team identified an additional 60 sites of interest. This builds on a previous search conducted in 2021, which revealed 93 sites, bringing the total to 153. These findings support the oral histories passed down by survivors and families in the community. Dawn McIntyre, project manager with the Returning Home Society, says these discoveries help confirm what many have always known.
We believe those stories, but in terms of, knowing and understanding the locations and understanding, where we work and live and play, we want to know. We want to know about that. We want to know where we're walking and what happened here.
English River First Nation is not the only community to be affected by the most recent findings. Rick Williberty is mayor of the nearby community of Beauval. He described how surrounding off-reserve communities were also impacted by the Beauval Residential School.
The communities affected are from a huge geographical area. You see the Beaver River here, and you have the Beauval. Our original community was called Missagamia. It's about 4 kilometers further up the river.
With only 15% of the ground searched, this is just the beginning. There's no guidebook for what comes next, but the community says it will move forward together, grounded in truth. The search continues, guided by technology, oral history, and a deep commitment to healing. In English River First Nation, I'm Tyrone Perreault.
We're always looking for your feedback or story ideas. Here's how you can continue the conversation with us. If you have a story you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. And to read and watch our stories, you can go to www.aptnnews.ca. And you can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. We have to take a quick break. Stay with us. Welcome back. The government of Nunavut has issued another public health advisory for rabies exposure, this time in the hamlet of Baker Lake. The health department states that 2 dogs with signs of rabies were recently put down after exposure to 2 rabid foxes in the area earlier this spring. This comes after positive tests of rabies in a caribou carcass from Coral Harbor in early June. The Nunavut Health Department says keep your family safe by watching out for animals that are aggressive, frothing at the mouth, choking, or making strange noises. If you have been attacked by a rabid animal, go to your local health center immediately because rabies is almost always fatal for humans. Keep pets indoors or tied up, and any sightings or incidents should be reported to conservation officers at 867-793-2944. The government of the Northwest Territories has announced $2.2 million in funding for environmental research projects. The funds will be distributed to 29 different projects, each studying caribou, water, and fish activity in the territory. 7 of the projects focus on traditional knowledge. 1 project combines traditional and scientific practices, while the rest are science-based. Recipients include Indigenous governments, universities, and government departments receiving up to $70,000 per year for 3 years. A full list of the 2025-2026 recipients can be found on the Northwest Territories government website at govnt.ca. A Northern Ontario business is up in arms over a funding shortage that has forced the layoff of nearly over half of their staff. CTV's Corey Nordstrom spoke with the owner of the Spark Rehabilitation, who says clients in rural areas will no longer have services close to home.
Alana McIntyre and her staff at the Spark Rehabilitation Center are working through frustrating times. Half of the clients at the center pay for services through Indigenous Services Canada's Jordan's Principle. Now those applications are being stalled as the government states they can only be approved by a national review committee.
Last week I sent an email asking, when will this file be adjudicated? I have a family asking. We can't give you timelines. And yet on the website it says 5 days. We've been waiting for over a year.
The 224 stalled applications relate to nearly 175 Indigenous clients, mostly for speech pathology, occupational therapy, and behavioral supports, that McIntyre says should fall under the new parameters for funding. The center has had to lay off 30 staff from Pick Mobert to Sturgeon Falls that work with clients in their communities as a result of the decrease in work. It means those clients will be without services that McIntyre says are necessary.
The suffering that we see on a day-to-day basis with our families, I wish that the people in Ottawa could see it and understand that when they don't adjudicate a file, it's not an ISC number. It's a child. It's a family.
McIntyre says that the federal government told her last Friday that she would not be paid retroactively or going forward for clients on Jordan's Principle contracts. She adds that her business is owed roughly $300,000 from Indigenous Services Canada.
It's so unethical to these children and family, let alone the fact that the government is now saying they're not going to pay me for a contract that they approved and provided me, a written email stating that I could continue until the file was depleted. I don't know how somebody's allowed to do that.
Indigenous Services Canada did not provide a statement to CTV News before broadcast of this story. Corey Nordstrom, CTV News, Sault Ste. Marie.
Some amazing technology has given a former Humboldt Bronco hockey player a new perspective.
You get to stand up again. Forget how tall you are.
Ryan Stresnitsky demonstrated the ExoMotion, a robotic exoskeleton that runs along a 12-meter track, allowing him not only to stand but also walk at this facility in Calgary.
It's incredible to do anything like hands-free, getting to hold a hockey stick, throw a football, brought back a lot of memories and made me really hopeful for the future to see where this exoskeleton can go.
Ryan was on the Humboldt Broncos bus 7 years ago when a crash killed 16 people and left him paralyzed. Researchers hope the exoskeleton will assist people with spinal cord injuries and other conditions, including Parkinson's disease. We now want to share the results of last week's web poll questions. Last week we asked, have you ever felt judged because of a visible tattoo? 6% of you voted often, 18% said sometimes, and another 18% said never, while 58% responded, I don't have any visible tattoos. Our second question we asked was, do you understand the federal legislation that promises to speed up projects of national interest? 29% said yes, 32% said a little bit, and 39% voted no. Our last question was, do you agree with the federal government increasing military spending? 67% said yes and 33% voted no. Thanks to all who took the time to vote. Our next set of questions will be on our website at aptnnews.ca later this week. And we'll get the latest on evacuations in northern Manitoba and Pimicikamak Cree Nation. Stay with us. On the east, St. John's 19, Charlottetown 19. Cartwright 16, the Grand River, sunny there and 9. 24 in St. Jovite, Val-d'Or 23. London 19, Peterborough 23 and sun. Big Trout Lake, partly cloudy and 15, Sioux Lookout 21. 13 in God's Lake, Puckatawagan 14. Princess Harbor 15, rain in Brandon at 17. Showers in Swift Current at 13, Yorkton sunny and 18. Stony Rapids 17 and rain, Buffalo Narrows partly cloudy and 17. Showers in High Level at 25, Fort McMurray 23. Calgary 23, Edmonton 23 as well. 14 in Tofino, Vancouver 19. Fort Nelson 18, Dease Lake 21. 25 in Mayo, Dawson 26. 18 in Wati, Norman Wells, sunny and 25. Fort McPherson, sun there at 24, Colville Lake 17. 2 in Chesterfield, Whale Cove 3. And 5 in Iqaluit, Arctic Bay, 6 and sun. Thousands of people from Pimicikamak Cree Nation are on their way home this week. Residents of the nation in northern Manitoba were evacuated more than 3 weeks ago due to an out-of-control wildfire. Now, Chief David Monias says repatriation efforts are underway. For more, we're joined by Chief Monias. Chief Monias, good news. People are heading home. Can you tell us how that's going to play out?
Well, right now we're at 1470 on Ellis Avenue, and we have people coming here to register with the Red Cross and also put their names on a list for the flights that are going back by plane. And we also have chartered buses here and our own bus that are getting people on board to go home. Plus, we also have people that are driving with their own vehicles that were able to get out of Cross Lake at that time. So we're catching them up and make sure they're on their way.
Chief, how long might it take to get everyone home, and what are the conditions like back there?
Well, I think it'll probably take a few days to take everybody home. I mean, it's right now the people are more that are really eager to go home are already here. They've been here since early this morning. And right now we have the fire under control back home. We had EHO for the health and environmental assessments were done, so the people said that it was safe to go home. And the wildfire, obviously the wildfire said that it was safe to go home. They recommended that we should be able to lift the evacuation order, but we didn't rescind the declaration of state of emergency.
This is still a very fluid situation, but what do you think are some of the lessons learned from this wildfire evacuation?
Well, I think one of the things that we learned is that, this is not our first time that we've done this. We've done this back in 1989, and also back in 2 years ago when we had to evacuate 7,500 people. Same thing when we did the COVID. That's that we really had to start digging our own stuff, setting up our own system, First Nations-led evacuation system, to be able to do things a little bit better and a little bit different. I mean, the people that have been helping us are great, but the system is it's not that great. And I think there needs to be a lot of changes made in terms of how you receive the people, how you send them out and make sure they're triaged, to make sure they're fed, somebody's giving them food and a place to stay right away, and then work on the paperwork after.
Chief, quickly on another note here, we're wondering if you have any comment on the federal government's Bill C-5 and the efforts to push that through when some nations are dealing with wildfires.
Well, it's for us, I was really surprised in terms that Bill C-5 was there, and I did get the email, but I wasn't paying much attention to it because I was too busy trying to help my people at the same time. So it was wrong timing, I think, for us. But I think Bill C-5, we're not against development, but it's kind of concerning because it doesn't take into account the treaties that we have, and the fast-tracking the whole system where you're not going to have free, prior, and informed consent from the First Nations, who are actually true. The ones that are those territories that you're going to be developing corporations to harvest minerals or do development, and it's going to destroy our land. So it's I think they should have waited a little bit longer to make sure that we are ready to go and make sure they involve us. Right now, we're not involved, so.
Chief Monias, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you for your time, and we wish you and the evacuees and everyone going back home good luck and safe travels.
All right, thank you.
And that's your daytime newscast for this Monday. We're back again in a few hours with your evening newscasts, including another update on the G7 in Alberta. Please join us then. From all of us at APTN National News, hi miigwech masicho. Thank you for watching. Ekse.